All right. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. It's actually our 25th episode of the year. We usually crank out about 40 or 45 a year. So we have been racking them up. But I'm going to be really straight with you guys. It has been a minute since I've done this in a normal manner from this location. We had social media day. We had the 4th of July. We were doing one of these or two of these from the beach house. You can see that I'm a little more tan and less red than I usually appear on this, but we are going to get back in the groove and see if we can't figure out how to do this normally. So I am your host, Adam Smith, with Just the Tips Coaching, and with me pretty much as always is our marketing director, one of our other coaches, all around superhuman, Mrs. Jen Waybor Hart. Hi, Jen.
Hey, Adam.
Haven't seen you in a minute.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I was gone, then you're gone. Yeah.
I actually think the last time I saw you face to face was social media day.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. All right. So Jen and I have a really cool guest for you guys today. In fact, a repeat guest. So you automatically know that he's fucking cool. Because if you come on our show and you're a douchebag, guess what? You don't get to come back on the show. That's just the way that this shit works. So welcome back to the show, Steve Schrader-Brocker. I'm just going to continue to call you Shredded Butter. I don't know how that nomer came about, but since we all kind of feel like you have two last names and they are close enough to being Shredded Butter, we're just going to continue to call you Steve Shredded Butter. So welcome back to the show, man. How the hell are you?
Hey, thanks, man. It's good to be back. It's been a while. It's been a few minutes, but definitely glad to be here. Glad to share some tips, and just thanks for allowing me to be part of the show.
Yeah. And how is your summer? Tell us, what are things like in the hot and humid upper Midwest?
Yeah, the great state of Iowa is I often refer to as a flyover state because you don't usually come here on purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Family or friends here.
I don't know the exact numbers, but I did once hear. You know what the greatest thing to ever come out of Iowa was?
What's that?
Interstate 80.
Oh, yes, that's right. There you go. On both sides, yes, exactly. Been good. It's the heat is it's summer in Iowa. It's July in Iowa. August State Fair will be coming up here next month, so it's always 100 degrees typically at the State Fair most days.
Oh my god! So. And the humidity is like 90. So cool.
Yeah, that's good.
Unless it's raining, then it's a little higher.
But of course, from the home office, it's nice and nice 72 degrees inside and. Getting things happening here at the command center.
At the command center. I like that. All right. So before we went live, there was one little item, and we don't have to get too far into it if you don't want. But we've obviously talked about on the previous episode that we had you on that you work with Guaranteed Rate, or that you used to work with Guaranteed Rate.
Yes.
And now you work with
Rate. Yes. So we've had a small rebrand. Just makes it a lot easier for folks to remember us, I guess, and spell our name, R-A-T-E, so you really can't spell
it. I'm not going to lie. Thank God for spell checker. I can never remember if it's U-A or A-U, so I'm with the masses here, Steve.
Yeah, so
although industry-wide, we'd always just gone by G-Rate.
Yeah, that works too, because then you don't have to spell guaranteed. You just
do yeah.
So yeah, everything's been rebranded as of July 1st to rate.com and all things Rate. Same company, just a new name.
All right. So. That is really cool. And Jen and I are obviously very, very big on branding. And when it comes to rebranding, and we have had so many coaching clients, pretty much the majority, go through a change. They've either changed companies, they've gone out on their own, they've started a brokerage. A lot of them after the fact, like Steven in Fresno. A little nod to Steven there. He's recently changed companies. Actually, his new company has the same name as my mortgage company, even though they're in California, which is really kind of funny. But yeah, he's been kind of doing a little bit of branding on that side. But branding is a big deal. No question. Now, obviously, a lot of the things that we talk about, and I know you're a supporter, a believer, however we want to describe that G-Rate or Guaranteed Rate or whatever you guys want to call yourselves, this is a big operation.
Yes.
And they have people and dollars to handle their branding. You're just kind of along for the ride. Because your job is obviously to brand Steve,
Yes.
not to brand Rate. Rate has people and dollars for that. And for all of you watching or listening, try to remember that. For those of you, God, how many people do I see, social media, Facebook particular, where it says Bob Jones works for Remax? When I click on where he works and jump to the business profile, it's fucking Remax's business page.
Mhm.
That's nice of you, Bob, whoever you are, to be driving that traffic, as negligible as it may be, because I'm guessing you're not seeing a lot of traffic on your Facebook since you don't know how to structure that properly. But Remax does not need your help. They have people in dollars. Keller Williams has people in dollars. G-Rate, Fairway, Umore, whatever it is, all of you people out there working for larger entities, those entities have dollars and people to handle the branding. Please, for the love of God, be branding yourself. Years ago, and this will actually be funny for you, Steve, because it's another Steve, and you know the other Steve. Steve Green went to Fairway.
Yeah.
Right? We all remember when Steve Green, he was still married to Ashley at the time, went to Fairway. And boy, did they start drinking that green Kool-Aid. He's putting pictures up about the green paper clips he ordered, that kind of shit. So Jen and I knew that the two of them would be together on their anniversary. And this is back when they were married, obviously. So we cornered them literally in the car and said, what the fuck is wrong with you people? If anything, because it was probably Steve that taught me this, right? Fairway does not need your help branding. You got to continue to brand you. You got to continue to brand the Steve Green mortgage team. Now, is it cool that Fairway's green and you're green and so on and so forth? Fantastic. But Fairway doesn't need your help branding. You got to keep branding the Steve team. This is true for all of you out there. Steve Shredded Butter is not involved in branding Rate. He doesn't care. All he cares about is him, his clients, his partners, his people, his family, his circle. This is where Steve's mission lies. To be taking good care of his clients, to be taking good care of his partners, to be taking good care of his family. And he doesn't need to be doing any of that. So please, for the love of God, brand yourselves. All right, I'm going to go off my soapbox.
Well, I'll just add a point to that. When I first got into business as a commissioned real estate or loan officer, I had a real estate agent. Only really knew one real estate agent at the time. This was the agent that helped me sell our previous home and buy our current home.
Well, Steve, you're old. This was BC. There was only one real estate agent.
So anyway, this agent, I was telling her about the situation and moving to this 100% commission opportunity. And she said, but I didn't know the company and, but she's one thing and this is 22 years ago, maybe even longer. She said, the biggest thing is people don't work with you because of where you work. They work with you because of who you are. And so that's just stuck with me the whole time. So it doesn't matter, obviously you want a company that supports you and helps you, or if you're on your own, to be able to do things, on your own that brands you. But again, people aren't going to necessarily work with you because you're at Remax or because you're wherever you are.
Totally.
They're going to work with you because of who you are. So
yeah, I think if we're talking about that type of twofold idea here, then yes, if you're working for another company, it is important to make sure that that company aligns with what you need when it comes to support. It's the processes, marketing, those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Jen and I would both agree that company culture has got to be priority number one if you're working for an organization like that. Does their mission align with your beliefs?
Yeah.
Do they behave in a manner that you can support? That sort of thing. But the other side of that, without equivocation, is you don't work for Remax, you don't work for Keller, you don't work for Rate or G-Rate or Guaranteed Rate. You work for your clients. That's at the end of the day who you're doing the job for and who's paying you. So there are some things that you do need to focus on in that sense, your team, your company, when it comes to culture, when it comes to support. But let's never forget that we actually work for our clients.
Right.
That's got to be something that's just rattling around in the back of your mind all the time. And Yeah, maybe your logo is a big hot air balloon, or maybe it's a big red KW, or whatever the case may be, and it does not matter. Your clients do not care. They care about who you are. They care about how you take care of them.
Right.
That's it. All right. So obviously a lot of what we do at Just the Tip circumnavigates around team structure, company culture, building a team, joining a team, all of these kinds of things. I'm not going to dismiss it as unimportant, but there are certainly a couple of things that I do think are of equal or greater importance. The biggest piece of our content when we're working with coaching clients is lead gen, client retention, those kinds of things. Obviously, the goal for all of our clients is to build a strict repeat and referral business, primarily composed of repeat clients and client referrals. That's very important stuff. And there was something that I know about you that we didn't get to talk about the last time that you were on the show, which is volunteer work, nonprofit work, community service, these kinds of things. And you and I will probably butt heads on the differences in the organizations, but you're a Rotarian.
I am.
You are. I'm a Sertoman. For years and years, even served as chapter president a couple of years, and a lot of leadership type of stuff, but really solid service club, volunteer work kind of stuff. And boy, is that a dying breed.
Yeah, everybody seems to be busy. I think you're obviously to be in an organization like that, though, and you don't go into it obviously for business opportunities necessarily, but business opportunities do come from it because you're seeing these
byproduct.
You're seeing these people on a weekly basis. They know what you do. They know they get to know, like you, and trust you, and you're involved in projects that benefit the community. So yeah, I've been a Rotarian for 16 years, and I think the biggest thing was what got me turned on to that idea was, well, my manager at the time said, and he was involved in Kiwanis, and he says, you should consider being involved in an organization. Because you just never know what that could lead to in the future. And obviously, if you have a heart for service and you have an idea making your community a better place to live, work, and play in, then yeah, the service organizations are the people of action that get things done. And so we're talking about president. So I just, as luck would have it, finished my year as Rotary president for my local club just June 30th. So now I'm the immediate past president, but that's, on to different things and still involved in the club and still helping the members be a part of the community to help better the community. So
I think I actually ended up doing 2 years as president just because nobody else was available to do it. It was such a small club.
Yeah, that happened.
That it has now merged into another club.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a bunch of these. And service organizations are dying, I think. But Sertoma, Rotary, Kiwanis, Lions is a big one, or has been historically. Sure. I think, well, let me ask you, what do you think the average age of your club is?
Yeah, that's it. And we've had a lot of, and I'm sure this is a situation nationwide, and some clubs are better at it than others, but a lot of service organizations are older folks. We want to try to encourage younger folks, but sometimes, if you're a younger being in your 20s, mid 20s, up to mid 30s, sometimes starting a family, other commitments. There are some investments involved with being involved in a service organization. I mean, ours are we pay $200 a quarter, so that's $800 a year, and that includes a weekly lunch, whether you're there or not. But not everybody has $200 a quarter that they can give to be able to be part of the organization, especially with the younger folks. So we're looking at options to try to encourage younger folks to be more involved, maybe offering a young professionals rate. We're exploring those options because our club in particular, again, our average age is probably north of 50, truthfully. So, you've got folks,
which I think is still pretty young in the grand scheme of what's going on in service organizations.
Yeah. I mean,
it's very hard to recruit younger members. And even 30s and 40s. People in their 30s and 40s, I think, is still a tough audience. And I think part of it is that those audiences fail to see the value. And I don't know that we're as community minded as we were decades ago, a century ago, whatever that happens to be. And some of these organizations have been around that long, for those of you that are curious about it. But if we're talking about somebody in a role like yours, like mine, real estate, financial planning, insurance, automobiles, all kinds of different things. If you have a direct-to-consumer sales gig for a large ticket item, then I am really comfortable in saying that getting business will be a byproduct of your service. And let's be realistic here. And I know 16 years is a really long time to be involved in a service club, a service organization. But let's get into the Wayback Machine here. And even in year one, don't you think that there was a byproduct in there of somebody asking you for help with a mortgage?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, people are always asking about them whenever I go to a meeting. Well, how's the market? You know, you get to talk your expertise off. So it's fun. I mean, I try not to obviously monopolize the conversation, but because obviously,
because mortgages are boring.
But no,
that's a boring subject.
We're not very sexy, but you know, I mean, I sometimes you get in the habit of sitting with the same people a lot, and I try to break that up some. But you end up sitting with the same people, and they're usually finance people. Or I sit with a commercial real estate agent a lot of times at the luncheon, and so he'll just ask questions about what we're seeing in the market, how are rates, that sort of thing. And
sure.
But actually he's one of my better clients from the club. Not that it came to be that way, but it just happened. We've probably closed in over 10 years, probably 5 or 6 different transactions just from his personal sphere, just from being part of that. And again, he's a commercial person, so he doesn't do a lot of residential. Just from being part of that organization. So
what do you think the skinny is here? You're probably putting in 50 hours a week into the organization?
No.
I'm sorry, 50 hours a year, I mean?
Yeah. I mean, realistically, I mean, you gotta get, when the thing is true, you gotta have lunch. So, and they don't always meet at lunch, obviously, but I'm a guy that's like, well, I gotta eat because I'm a guy. And people need to eat, and so I'm just like, well, I got to eat, so I might as well just go enjoy my time with my Rotarians once a month or once a week, and get some great food and have some good conversation, and you
probably don't make it every week, but you make up for it because you guys will do an event once a year, and you got to put some time into there. So 50 hours a year and $800 a year, and you're probably seeing some kind of benefit from that pays you quite a bit more, enables you to do other things. I don't think that I can stress enough how valuable that kind of service is. And Sertomo is one of them. I spent years and years as a volunteer with the sheriff's office where I live. The county sheriff's office, basically being like a volunteer public information officer. Now it's actually decades. So I guess all of these have been decades more than years. I just don't want to admit how old I really am. And another on a federal level, similar public affairs type of work with the employer support of the Guard and Reserve at the Department of Defense. These are just things that don't require an enormous financial commitment, don't require an enormous time commitment, are really good for the community.
Sure.
Whether it's local, state, or federal. And absolutely in the long run pay dividends with the kinds of things like, one of the biggest ones that we're very proactive about here is people want to know who you are. Way more important than what you do. People already know what you do, especially those of us that have been doing it for decades. They know what the fuck we do.
Right.
There isn't anybody out there that doesn't know that. They're really more interested in who you are, what you're into, what you like, what hills you die on, what you stand for, what kinds of things are you into, those sorts of things. So, now I'm really preaching more along Jen's arena here, where she and Jen and her corporate social responsibility MBA, who are...
I'm so proud. You remembered what it was called. I'm so proud. 5 years.
Did you have that written down?
No, I'm going off my cheat sheet here. I took some notes on the back of the envelope, right next to my grocery list.
Perfect.
Yeah, no choice since the cell phone died.
Oh,
Had to write it on the back of an envelope. Yeah, my little trip this past month was this month and last month proved to generate some real IT issues. Phone died, earbuds. Well, a little tip for all of you: don't get into the swimming pool with your earbud charger
Oh, yeah,
or earbud case in your pocket. That was just dumb. I'm amazed it was able to limp along for the rest of my trip. The phone, no idea, but the phone died. Like died, like won't turn on, died. So yeah, we're having all kinds of IT issues here. So I'm scratching notes on the back of envelopes. Got to remember to get a loaf of bread, dozen eggs, those kinds of things. All right. So I do think that that's big. And Steve, one of the other things that we work on, and I said we would talk about a bit, is we have writing modules in our coaching program. We work on being a source, being a contributor, and even writing a book. And you have.
I've written two, actually. One for home buyers and one for real estate agents that are just starting in the business, or folks that have been in business a while and need some extra tips. And it's a lot of back.
Wait a minute. Jen, is he infringing here? He used
Maybe.
the word tips.
Oh,
Maybe.
sorry.
All right.
I'll have to. I'll send the check soon.
All right, I'm gonna call my lawyer. Damn.
So yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is, with a book, you give someone a business card, they may throw it away. Chances of throwing away a book are not very high and improbable.
Yeah,
So,
I don't even have business cards anymore. I don't think.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying. But if you did, or it's just a lot of folks are more in tune to be able to appreciate a book, and then on top of that too, it also reinforces your expertise and your authenticity about being the subject matter expert.
Credibility.
So,
Huge.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a phenomenal opportunity to be and you get to say you're a published author, but you are a published author. I mean, so you get to reap those benefits and also improve your branding and opportunities for the future.
Yeah, that one was actually funny to me, and it still is, because for those of you who want more information on writing a book, publishing a book, we're certainly happy to help. But we do KDP, and which is Kindle Direct, and once a quarter they pay you your royalties. And I completely forget about it every 90 days, and all of a sudden there's this random deposit into my account. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. People pay me to read my book because, well, they don't know any better. That's all there is to it. But tell us the titles of the books.
So the one is The Complete Guide to Buying a Home in Des Moines.
Ah, very cool.
So that would be for the home buyer.
Okay.
And then for the real estate.
So there's an audience there of like 12 people.
Yes, right.
Got it. Okay.
People live
It's a big city.
That's right. And then Get Ready, Get Set, Get Sold. Tips for real estate agents.
That is really cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to track that one down. And yeah, Jen, definitely let our audience know about that latter one, because I'd be willing to bet that it's good for people in sales in general.
It's on Lulu. I use it. This is from back in the day. I've never changed it, but it's on Lulu, and so it's pretty easy to find.
Okay. Very cool. This is fun stuff. And give us some samples. Come on. What kinds of tips can our audience, real estate agents primarily, expect to get from Shredded Butters Get Ready, Get Set, Get Sold?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is really just knowing, again, where is your business going to be coming from? If you're a newer agent, what are you doing what are some ideas for you to be able to be different than all the rest? Because there are so many people who do what you do, but there is nobody who does it the way that you do it. And so I think there's a lot of agents, a lot of lenders too, that try to copy what another person is doing. But I think once you realize, I mean, you all have the same goal. Agents have the same goal: to sell, to list, sell, close on a home. I mean, those are the things, and prospect too, obviously. So,
well, that's the work, not the goal. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are the $4 producing activities. I think it's
right.
List, sell, close, and then prospect, and not in that order. So realistically though, then again, just trying to figure out what it is, how are you different than all the rest? And so for me, using my personal example, so there's a lot of great lenders in my market, but there's nobody who does things the way that I do things. And so from my standpoint, it's always about education. It's always about communication, and really just trying to help the home buyer through the process, because I think a lot of times, especially on the lending side, the communication isn't there. Or they'll say, well, this is why it is, without taking 5 extra minutes to explain why it is that way to that particular buyer. So really, and that's where I feel like I excel. And so understanding what it is that you do, that you excel at, I mean, again, you're delivering the same product at the end of the day. But how you deliver it vastly different than the rest of your competition. So really just honing in on that and being able to understand what it is that you do differently than the rest can really be a tremendous success opportunity. So that's kind of, and it delves into in the book, it delves into some more ideas around that specifically.
Well, and I think that that's certainly true in your processes and in your transactional business. I think even more importantly in your prospecting, Jen and I talk all the time about what we find are the people that are successful are the ones doing the ones everybody else won't do. Do the things that people won't do. Do those things. But I think one of the greatest resources Jen and I have found over the years, and combined, God, I don't even know, Jen and I have been probably helping people with their businesses for, I don't know, combined 50 years, something ridiculous at this point. Sorry, Jen, but you did kind of get a jam on that at a really young age. I don't want to age Jen, millennial. But one of the things that Jen and I are a very, very strong supporter of is The Purple Cow. If you haven't read it, whoever you are, get a copy, read it, The Purple Cow. And it really does follow along the lines of standing out, doing the things that other people in your particular arena don't do. If you're driving out, okay, we all drive down the road. If you haven't been on a road trip, then you're probably 6 months old. Fine, you're going to get there. But when we're driving down the road and you see a herd of cows, you go, cows, look, cows. We do it every time. Well, Steve probably does it more than we do because Iowa, right? Iowa. Corn.
Cows and corn. Yes, cows and corn.
Right. Okay. Exactly. And if you were on that road trip and you were driving and you see a herd of cows and one of them was purple, that would really stick out in your mind. Yeah. That purple cow. That's kind of the idea here, the methodology here, the background is be the purple cow. So yeah, do the things that other people won't do. And it's not just unique to your processes, to your actual transactions, but certainly in your lead gen, in your marketing, in your prospecting, in your social media, in your video, in your writing of the million real estate agents out there. Actually, it's probably more. I think we're at 1 million realtors. So who knows what that translates to people that aren't actually NAR members, although I'm sure that number is dwindling. Let's not get into it. Lots of drama there. But how many people are actually being the purple cow? Like none. And maybe there's a reason that 80% fail in the first 2 years. They're not being purple enough. You can't be the lavender cow. You got to be the purple cow.
Right.
Yeah. You can't be the hint of fuchsia cow. Be the purple cow. All right. So, yeah, I think that those are a couple of few really important things that we know about you, but I don't think everybody else knew about you. So we kind of wanted to bring some of that to light and certainly put a light on shredded butter, as well as the fact that, Steve, you do a lot of important things that a lot of people in our line of work, mortgage originators and certainly real estate agents. And for those of you that aren't all that familiar with just the tips, we think those are very, very similar jobs. Very similar jobs. At the end of the day, your job is to find buyers and sellers, is to find borrowers. The rest of everything you know, Steve, do you know how to run DU?
I do.
Cool. I assume most real estate agents know how to negotiate an inspection. But guess what? If you don't have buyers, sellers, borrowers, you don't need to know any of that.
Right. That's true.
There's no need. You do not need to know how to run DU if you do not have a borrower.
True.
You do not need to know how to order an appraisal if you do not have a borrower. Those kinds of things. So, yes, I do think that that is still the job, to generate leads. And these are very, very important pieces of that puzzle. Writing, please, all of you, write. Service, please, for the love of God, volunteer. Something we didn't talk about, though, I think it's really kind of neat. Yes, Jen, I see you. I know we're running over. We're going to run over.
Yep.
When you volunteer, if you volunteer in a space that is something you really enjoy, you really believe in, a cause that you stand for, you're already checking off some of these people want to know who you are boxes, because the people you're going to meet along the lines of your volunteer work have that in common. The people that are volunteering at an animal shelter have a love of animals. If you're volunteering at an animal shelter, it's so funny because my dogs just started barking. If you have a love of animals, you're going to meet other people that have a love of animals. That falls right along the lines of people wanting to know who you are, not what you do. It'll come up. You're going to get there. So, yeah, please do invest a little bit of your time, certainly time when you're young, as you get older, your money into things that you believe in, that you care about, because that will pay dividends in ways we can't even describe in the long term. And please, write, contribute for your trade publications, for your local publications. We do all kinds of things along those lines. I don't know how many articles I've had in National Mortgage Professional or the Quarterly University of Denver magazine or those kinds of things. Trade industries, trade publications, local publications. And then, get comfortable with that shit and write a book. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. I promise you, there isn't a 300-page novel about buying a home in Des Moines. I'm sure it's very black and white. I'm sure it's very cut and dry. Mm-hmm. And yes, you're a subject matter expert. Steve, there probably isn't anybody there who knows more about buying a home in Des Moines.
Probably not.
I mean, there's only 12 of you to begin with.
That's right.
All right. Enough jokes about Des Moines. And before we wrap it up, I do want to say I love Des Moines. I think it is a really cool town. I pretty much hate everywhere that has humidity. Summers are hot and nasty. The winters are worse, cold and nasty. Those kinds of things. I'll stick with my high desert for every chance I get. But Des Moines is a cool city. Yeah. The downtown area is amazing. I did not really understand how horrible your winters must be until I saw all your downtown buildings connected by walkways 1 or 2 stories above the streets. And all those little walkways are filled with like food courts or little shopping venues, it's really cool. It's kind of like what goes on underground in Minneapolis. And those winters are probably worse. Yeah. They probably need the geothermal heat to survive that in downtown Minneapolis. But yeah, Des Moines is a really cool town. I am just pulling on Steve's leg because I can. He lives in Iowa and he's old, so we're going to make jokes.
Yes, that's right. I need
living in Des Moines and being old. But other than that, yeah, it is a really cool city. If you guys have not had a chance to check it out, I recommend April or October.
Yeah, pretty much. That's a good plan.
that's when they have spring.
If we're honest, probably late April because there's been some snow in early April. So if you're not seeing, you'd probably want to say late April to May. Once we get to May, we're pretty much solid.
Hot and humid. Yeah. Anything beyond that, it's hot and humid, and if you wait too long, it's cold and humid. Got it. But Steve, thank you for doing this again, and let's do it again.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Because this is a gas. We love having you on the show and getting a different perspective on some of the things that we find really, really important. Obviously, it's part of why we jive so well because we have similar beliefs on what the job is and what you need to be doing and how you need to be taking care of people and how you need to approach your business after all this time. So,
yeah, our businesses are relationship based. If you don't have relationships, you don't have business. So,
true story. Yeah. And then, of course, as I discovered over the last few weeks, if you need more business, take a vacation or at least try to. Right. Yes. Yeah, you actually can't. I don't think a day went by that I didn't work. So it is what it is. But excuse me, let's do it again. Jen, get Steve back on the books. And we'll continue to roll with that. And otherwise, Jen, what else have we got going on? Oh, you probably want to talk about the Mile High Mastermind.
Mile High Mastermind is
the 7th
not that far away.
Mile High Mastermind. Jesus.
Which is insane. Yeah, Mile High Mastermind will be the last weekend in September. We are working on lining up speakers and all the logistics, and tickets will be on sale very, very soon. But if anybody is interested in speaking or sponsoring, you can reach out to either myself at jen@corefinancegroup.com or Adam, same email address, just his name, or Mindy too. We couldn't make this all happen without her by any means. So
True story.
stay tuned for all of that. But if you want to find out more about Just the Tips Coaching and everything that we do, you can head over to justthetipscoaching.com. That's where you can find past episodes of the show, the weekly little tip, book time to coach with Adam, all of the things. Head over to justthetipscoaching.com.
Cool. No mention of my book. We're gonna spend
and
a
the
half an
books
hour
too.
talking about
Books
Steve's
too.
book and books. All right, fine. I see
sorry.
where we're at. All right. So that's it for this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in live or in syndication. If you're catching us live, you're catching us on Mondays at 10:30 Mountain, which I know nobody believes there's actually a mountain time zone. It's kind of like, well, I think Denver is actually the only really big city in it, so that would make sense. But 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. 48 hours later, you can catch the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. And tune in next week for another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. And Steve, again, nothing but love. Thanks for doing it, man.
You bet. Thank you.